that good stuff. Let me tell you what we gon' do. 2+2, I'm gon' undress you. Then we gonna go 3 and 3. You gon' undress me. Then we gonna go 4 and 4. We gon' freak some more. But first, you got your boyfriend and we be at the hotel. You bring your girlfriends and we be at the hotel. You got your boyfriend and we be at the hotel. You can go your girlfriends and we be at the hotel. We at the hotel, hotel, holiday. We at the hotel, hotel, ain't into making love. So come give me a hug. You into getting rough. You can find me in the club. Bottle full of bug, but mommy, I got the answer. You into taking drugs. I'm into having sex. I ain't into making love. So come give me a hug. You into getting rough. When I pull up out front, you see the Benz on do. When I roll 20 T's, 29s in the club. Niggas heard up up a Dre, now they wanna show me love. When you sound like Eminem in the club, they wanna fuck. Come on, you ain't got to change, hold down, G's up. I see cribbin' in the good, they nigga roll that weed up. Roll that hot child move, stick for a play up here. Been hit with a few shells, but I don't walk with a limp. In the hood, in the lady saying 50, you hot. They like me, I want them to love me like they love pop. But holla in New York, the niggas will tell you I'm loco. When you playing it to put the back game in the choke. No, I'm fully focused, man. My money on my mind, got a meal out the deal, and I'm still in the grind. Now, shorty says she feeling my style, she feeling my flow. My girl took with it, they buy, and they ready to go. I'm getting club, I'm full of bugs, with money, I got the head sick, and to take the drugs. Running the having sex, I ain't into making love, so come give me a hug. Be into getting rough, you can find me in the club. Bottle full of bugs, with money, I got the head sick, and to take the drugs. I'm into having sex, I ain't into making love, so come give me a hug. Be into getting rough. My flow, my show brought me the dough. That brought me all my fancy things. My crib, my cars, my clothes, my shoes. Look better, I done came on and I ain't changing. You should way more than you hate it, nigga, you mad. I think that you be happy I made it. I'm that tech, by the car, toasting to the good life. You that faggot ass nigga tryna pull me back, guys. When I jump in the bumpin' in the club, cause I don't know if I bitch, you should smash it, go. If you too gon' fire, let the motherfucker burn. Talking about money, homie, I ain't concerned. I'ma take you for banks for me, cause go ahead, switch the style up. Them niggas hate to let them make them want the money pile up. Or we can go upside your head with a pile of food. They don't make you fucking rich, you can find me in the club. Bottle full of bugs, with money, I got the head sick, they into taking drugs. I'm into having sex, I ain't into making love. So come give me a hug, they into getting rough. You can find me in the club. Bottle full of bugs, with money, I got the head sick, they into taking drugs. I'm into having sex, I ain't into making love. So come give me a hug, they into getting rough. Don't try to act like you don't know where we be, nigga. In the club all the time, nigga. It's a problem, pop off, nigga. G-Unit. Tonight, play secretary on the ball tonight. And you don't give a what they all say, right? Off from the Christian and Christian Dior. Damn, they don't make them like this anymore. I ask, cause I'm not sure. Do anybody make really anymore? Bad when the breath is greatness. Right now, that has to say this. You should be honored by my latest. That I would even show up to this place. So go ahead, go nuts, go crazy. Listen to my pastel on my face. Act like you can't tell who made this. Gospel, homie, take six. Take this, haters. I don't know if you got a man in that. If you made plans in that. God put me in the plans in that. I'm tripping this drink, I be saying a lot. But I know that God put you in front of me. So how the hell did you front on me? It's 1,000 you, it's only one of me. I'm tripping, I'm caught up in the moment, right? Cause it's Louis Vuitton dine night. So we gon' do everything the kind like. Heard could do anything for a Klondike. Well, I'll do anything for a Klondike. And she'll do anything for the limelight. And we'll do anything when the time's right. Baby, you make been on ya. These bricks was on Apollonia. Since OJ had isotoners. Don't act like I never told ya. Don't act like I told ya. Don't act like I told ya. That's how long I've been on ya. moaning, make me want it. 2 in the morning, I'm zoning in them rose bottles, foaming. She wouldn't stop, made it drop. Sure, I did that poppin' loud. Had to break her off that cloud. Yeah, I was fly just like a glide. The whole club was looking at it, her. She hit the floor, like taking notes. Shorty got the low. Them baggy sweatpants and the Reebok with the straps. Turn around and get that big booty and smash. She hit the floor, like taking notes. Shorty got the low. Just so down, the baddest thing around town. She's the girl you never see before. Nothing you can compare to your neighborhood. I'm trying to find the words to describe this girl without being disrespectful. The way that booty moving, I can't take no more. I just got to go through it so I can walk. I'm trying to find the words to describe this girl without being disrespectful. Yes, I can see it. Cause every girl here wanna be a oh, she's a diva. Feel the same, I wanna be a they say she low down. It's just true, I don't believe it. They say she needs to slow down. Best thing around town. She's nothing like a girl you ever seen before. Nothing you can compare to your neighborhood. I'm trying to find the words to describe this girl without being disrespectful. The way that booty moving, I can't take no more. I just got to go through it so I can walk. I'm trying to find the words to describe this girl without being disrespectful. Day and night, I toss and turn, I keep stressing my mind. I look for peace, but see I don't attain. What I need for keeps the silly game we play. Now look at this, madness the magnet keeps attracting me. I try to run, but see I'm not that fast. I think first, but surely finish last. Cause day and night, the lonely stoner seems to free his mind at night. He's all alone through the day and night. The lonely loner seems to free his mind at night. At night, day and night. The lonely stoner set the free mind. He's all alone, some things will never change. The loner set the free mind. At night. Stoner, Mr. Solo Dolo. He's on the move, can't seem to shake the shade. Within his dreams, he sees the life he made. Pain is deep. A silent sleeper, you won't hear a beat. The girly ones don't see no one and two. It's some feelings that she had about. As day and night, the lonely stoner seems to free his mind at night. He's all alone through the day and night. The lonely loner seems to free his mind at night. At night, day and night. The lonely stoner seems to free his mind at night. He's all alone, some things will never change. The lonely loner seems to free his mind at night. At night. Easy coming, easy going, and when anytime I need you, let me know. Anytime I need you, let me know. Anytime I see you, let me know. But I better see this, let me know. I'm on my knees while I'm beside a wall to lose. I got my arms so spread, I hope that my heart gets fed. Better record. I used to be shadow of my life, lying over me, broken man. I don't know. He's standing there, he's dancing with my soul. Chasing by the bottom, by the basement. Why we got good shit, don't embrace it. By the feel for the need to replace me. You're on the phone with track from the good. I only painted the picture, tell it what we could, but yeah, like I'm on it. That's for sure. I gave it away, you had it until you paid it out. Keep walking on, keep moving on, keep moving forward. Let the call is yours, keep moving home. I don't want to live in a broken home. Put your loving hand out, baby. Begging you. Put your loving hand out, darling. I'm trying hard to hold down. Just till it's sweet. I'm not from North West Side. Everybody here, everybody, let's get into it. Get stoked, get started, get started, get started. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Lose control, our body and soul. Don't move fast, you just take it slow. Don't get ahead, just jump into it. Got hit a body, the piece of do it. Get started, get stupid. Don't worry about it, fool. All you do is step right in the new kid. Inch by inch with the new solution. Transmit hits with no delusion. The feelings irresistible, that's how we move it. Everybody here, everybody, let's get into it. Get stoked, come on, started, I'm on, started. Get started, let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Come on, y'all. Let's get it started. That's the ill, that's the deal. Applicator will be the front top girl. Just lose your mind, this is the time. Your guest is still just a pain your spine. Just bob your head like me, Apple D. Unless I just love in your friendly. Get messy, loud and sick, yo. That's come on another head trip. Come them now, do not correct it. Let's get ignorant, let's get hectic. Everybody, everybody, let's get into it. Get stoked, get started, get started. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Really knew that you could dance like this. She make a man wanna speak Spanish. Como se llama? Shakira. Oh, baby, when you talk like that, you make a woman go mad. So be wise and keep on reading the signs of my body. I'm on tonight, you know my hips don't lie, and I'm starting to feel it's right. The attraction, the tension. Just see, baby, this is perfection. Yeah, girl, I can see your body moving, and it's driving me crazy. And I did not the slightest idea until I saw you dancing. The way you walk up on the dance floor, your body can let me go. The way you move your body, girl, and everything so unexpected. The way you right the left it. So you think you want to get it? I really knew that you could dance like this. She make a man wanna speak Spanish. Como se llama? Shakira. Oh, baby, when you talk like that, you make a woman go mad. So be wise and keep on reading the signs of my body. I'm on tonight, you know my hips don't lie, and I'm starting to feel you too. Come on, let's go real slow. See, baby, see it's perfect. I know I'm on tonight, my hips don't lie, and I'm starting to feel it's like all the attraction, attention. Just see, baby, this is perfection. Oh boy, I can see your body moving. If anyone else now, I don't really know what I'm doing. Just have to have a plan. I will selfish things. Have come to fail now, fail now. See, I'm doing what I can, so you know how it's too hard to explain. Really knew that you could dance like this. Spanish, como se llama? Oh, baby, when you talk like that, you know you got me hypnotized. So be wise and keep on reading the signs of my body. Let me see you move like you come from Colombia. En Barranquilla se baila así. Yeah, she's so sexy, I even fantasy of refuge that came back with the Fugees from a third world country. I go back like when Pop carried crates for Humpty, lead a whole project. Why the CIA, why should Colombian to Haitians? And guilty of some musical transaction. No hopes of hope, no wonder we snatch rope. Refugees run the seas cause we own our own boat. I'm on tonight, my hips don't lie, and I'm starting to feel you, boy. Come on, let's go. Real slow. Baby, like this is perfect. Oh, you know I'm on tonight, my hips don't lie, and I'm starting to feel it's right. The attraction, the tension. Baby, like this is perfection. You're fire. Let's fight. Cheers. Rihanna. Good girl, go back. Take 3. Action. No clouds in my stones. Let it rain, I hide the rain in the bank. Coming down like a Dow Jones. When the clouds when we go. We Rockefeller, we fly high in the weather. The team rising better. You know, man. In anticipation for precipitation, stack chips for the rainy day. Jay, Rain Man is back. With Little Miss Sunshine, Rihanna, where you at? You have my heart, and we'll never be worlds apart. Maybe in magazines, but you still be my star. Baby, 'cause in the dark, you can't see shiny cars. And that's when you need me there. With you, I'll always share. Because when the sunshine we shine together, told you I'll be here forever. Said I'd always be your friend. So you know I'm stick it out to the end. And it's raining more than ever. under my umbrella. You've been under my umbrella. Under my umbrella. Under my pretending to the lights down. Just wanna go that extra mile for you. My display of affection feels like no one else in the room. You keep me down like there's no one around. I'm rocking. Cameras are flashing while we're doing dance. We keep watching. Feels like I'm gravity. Gimme, center of attention. Even when we're up against the wall, you get me in a crazy position. If you're on a mission, you got my permission. You can't get down like there's no one around. Keep on rocking. Cameras are flashing while we're dirty dancing. Keep watching. Bet you didn't see this one coming. The incredible Lago, the legendary Miss Britney Spears, and the unstoppable Danger. You're gonna have to remove me, 'cause I ain't gonna do it. Please don't stop the music. Please don't stop the music. hypnotized. Listen as the crowd would fall. Daddy, you can't stand at the minute I held the key. It's the worst because couldn't believe what I've become. Revolutionaries wait for my day on silver, just a puppet on a string. All through the world, I hear Jerusalem's ringing, Roman Catholic choirs are singing. Even remember my soul, seal of missionaries in a foreign field. For some reason I can't explain, I know St. Peter won't call my name. Never alone this world, but that was when I ruled the world. I swear. I know, man. It's been a while. DC's different. I've been gone, man. It took me years to be able to do this show, but DC has changed. It's different now. It's a lot of white people walking around. I left DC in the 80s. It was not like this in the 80s. When crack was going on. Remember when crack was going on? Why did you be looking at DC from Virginia with binoculars, you know? Well, it's dangerous. Not yet. New white people. You can't scare these white people. I tried. Roll up on a boo. What the hell's wrong? with you? Those days are over. I'm glad that like we're doing a show here about how you see like white people come out. That's good. One thing I'm seeing, you walk down the street and you see like a group of black dudes walking. How does any old black dude be talking? Thugs. Talking, be some thugs. In the group, they got like one or two. Sometimes there's three white guys to do it. You see this shit? Let me tell you something about those white guys. Those white guys are the most dangerous motherfuckers in the groups. It's true. It's true, man. It ain't no telling what they've done to get them black dudes respected. And them black dudes have seen them do some wild shit, I'll tell you that. I've been trying to tell brothers that. I'm serious, for safety. Because when the shit goes down, somebody's going to need to talk to the police. I mean, that's when that white place comes in handy. Uh-oh, Ernie, want to get this one? Come on now. Come on now. Do something. Black people are very afraid of police. That is a big part of our culture. No matter how rich you are, how old you are, we're just afraid of them. We got every reason to be afraid. You know what I mean? Like, you're a white lady. You ever been pulled over before? You know, what they say. Let me see a driver's license. See, I'm just guessing. It's not what they say to us. You wouldn't believe what they say to us. Spread your cheeks and lift your sack. Like, what? You heard me, spread over your cheeks and lift your sack. I got a driver's license too. The easier ways to prove who I am and shit. What does that prove? I can't go to the bank like that. Cash my check. What do you mean you don't have any ID? Wait a minute. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Capel. Right this way. Why didn't you spread your cheeks and make scared of them? Serious, man. You ever be a red light? Pull up next to you? Don't be no big deal. Oh, don't look over there. But I didn't always know that was a black man. It took me a while to figure that out. I learned that shit in New York. I was in New York City. I was hanging out with a friend of mine. Lost the city. I don't know if it was a coincidence. He was lost in Hackney. My life buddy, he was smoking a joint. Dave, it's the goddamn cops. I'm gonna ask him for directions. I said, Chip, no! Chip, don't do it! It was too late. He was walking over there, this man was high shit. Excuse me. Excuse me, sir. Touch him and Chip. Excuse me. Need some information. It's not confessing things. Shouldn't confess. I'm a little high. All I want to know, which way is 3rd Street? Cal's like, hey, take it easy. You're on 3rd Street. You better be careful. Go ahead, move it. Move it. That's all that happened. That's the end of the story. Now, I know that's not amazing to some of you. But you ask one of these black fellas, that shit is fucking incredible, isn't it? I'm sorry, a black man would never dream of talking to the police high. That's a waste of weed. Serious. I mean, I've I've been scared to talk to the police when I'm sleeping. Fuck around, get the wrong idea. Oh my God. That nigga was on PCP, Johnson. I had to use necessary force. You saw him. No paperwork. Just sprinkle some crack on him. Let's get out of here. That's how it is, but at the time, I didn't think there was anything racial about it. I was like, man, Chip. But then another time, me and Chip were driving. I'm not driving. Chip is driving, and he's driving a little crazy. He's been drinking. I don't like to let my friends drive drunk, but you know, I was smoking a joint. I couldn't really say shit to the guy. We get at a red light. Stop at a red light. Car pulled up next to us, and I'll never forget it. Chip was Dave. I'm gonna raise him. I knew it was a bad idea, but I was high. I tried to explain to him it was a bad idea, but all it came out was. That light turned green and Chip took off. Zigzag and just going to pass it up. I didn't even know it was racing. Then the police seen us and pulled us over. You understand? I'm scared as shit. Come on, the car smells like weed. And speeding this thing. Fucking drunk. I'm scared. Chip was not scared at all. It was weird. He didn't even turn his radio down. It was weird. I mean, if you get pulled over, wouldn't you turn your radio down? Somebody want to get their ass beat to a soundtrack and shit. You know what I'm saying? Chip had the music blasting. We're not gonna take it. Whatever today, just relax. Close your butt cheeks. Relax. Let me do the talking. You wanna know what he said? It's almost exactly what he said. Oh. Sorry, officer. I didn't know I could do that. I was fucking shocked. The cop said, well, now you know. Get out of here. Get out of here. She said, okay, I will, sir. I did. What? I didn't know I could do it. So that was good, wasn't it? Because I did know I couldn't do that. I wasn't shocked at the audacity. I was shocked because I would have never thought to say that. I don't think any black dude would think to say that. They know people. Every black dude in this room is a qualified paralegal and shit. He knows the law. If one of us even start to do something wrong, a old black man will pop out of nowhere. Nigga, don't do that. That's 5 to 10. We know the laws and the penalties. Yeah, Chip didn't even know he could race. I'm not saying I don't like police. I'm not saying that. I'm saying I'm just scared. Sometimes you want to call them too. Somebody broke into my house once. It was a time to call, but I don't know. House was too nice. It ain't a real nice house, but they never believe I live in it. He's still here. Oh my God. Open and shut case, Johnson. I saw this once before when I was a rookie. Apparently, this nigger broke in and hung up pictures of his family everywhere. Well, sprinkle some crack on them and get out of here. Oh, you know, that's that whole mentality thing. See, that's common knowledge, man. There was a time when only minorities really knew about that. I'm not going to say white people didn't believe it, but they're a little skeptical. They're a little skeptical. I mean, I don't blame you. And the Newsweek printed and they do it. And the Newsweek might go, oh, my. Honey, did you see this? Apparently, the police have been beating up Negroes like hotcakes. It's in the May issue. I mean, really, how could you know? How could anyone else know? I mean, maybe you should have seen something a little suspicious. You know, it was like a little suspicious. Every dead black person the police found has crack sprinkled all over. Come on, man. Who gets shot and sprinkles crack on themselves? Nobody. Bam! Oh! I don't want to leave no business. I'm a paranoid guy. I'm just scared to call 911 for anything. Even if it's like a fire or anything. Because they take those phone calls. I've seen the shows, they tape them. And then they play them on television. That's fucked up. Now, I'll say anything if I'm scared. That shit is private. You know? What if I get killed? Stop playing that 911 tape on the news. I'm dead. I can't explain myself to my buddy. We watch the news. We have Reg chatting on the scene. Reg, what's going on out there? I'll take a guy on the scene in a minute. Hi, Bob. Hi. Yes. We just got hold of a copy of Dave Chappelle's Frantic. 911 emergency call. Remember, viewers, some of this language is disturbing. Hello, emergency. Help! Help, motherfucker, they're coming to get me! Just calm down, sir. Where are you? Oh, I shit on myself. I can't stop crying. They play that shit 30, 40 times a day. Oh, my buddy's at my funeral looking at me. You know, Dave shit on himself. I saw it on the news. Guy crying like a bitch. Bad, I can't defend myself.
Shit. Ladies, you gotta step up your blowjob game. Oh. The fucking... Oh, my daughters! Ha. This guy's in my ear like, do you want to catch up with Rachel? I'm like, fuck her, she's dead to me. It is an epiphanous moment, dare I say it.
Of your enemies, where they tell you false. Always acknowledge fault frankly. This will throw those in authority off guard and give you an opportunity to make a choice. Buy land. They're not making it anymore. The longer we dwell among misfortunes, the greater is their power to harm us. An investment in knowledge pays the best interest. Always forgive your enemies. Nothing annoys them so much. I think there is only one quality worse than hardness of heart. That is softness of head. A man can never have too much red wine, too many books, or too much ammunition. Blessed is he that expects nothing, for he shall never be disappointed. The only way to keep your health is to eat what you don't want, drink what you don't like, and do what you'd rather not. you are asked if you can do a job, tell them, certainly I can. Then get busy and find out how to do it. Rather go to bed without dinner than to rise in debt. By failing to prepare, you are preparing to fail. Whatever is begun in anger ends in shame. If you could kick the person in the pants responsible for most of your trouble, you wouldn't sit for a month. Keep your eyes wide open before marriage, half shut afterwards. Our labor preserves us from three great evils: weariness, vice, and want. Dost thou love life? Then do not squander time, for that's the stuff life is made of. It is enough that people of the nation do not understand our banking and monetary system. For if they did, I believe there would be a revolution before tomorrow morning. Think how difficult it is to change yourself, and you will understand how insignificant your opportunities are to change others. Do something every day that you don't want to do. This is the golden rule for acquiring the habit of doing your duty without pain. The only time you really live fully is from 30 to 60. The young are slaves to dreams, the old servants of regrets. Only the middle-aged have all their five senses in the keeping of their wits. To lengthen thy life, lessen thy meals. If you tell the truth, you don't have to remember anything. Whenever there is a hard job to be done, I assign it to a lazy man. He is sure to find an easy way of doing it. The happiest of all lives is a busy solitude. If you pick up a starving dog and make him prosperous, he will not bite you. This is the principal difference between a dog and a man. Man will do many things to get himself loved. He will do all things to get himself envied. Courage is rightly esteemed the first of human qualities, because it is the quality which guarantees all others. Never argue with stupid people. They'll drag you down to their level and beat you with experience. Tricks and treachery are the practice of fools. They don't have brains enough to be honest. He that falls in love with himself will have no rivals. The truth must be served like a coat, and not thrown in the face like a wet towel. Hide not your talents. They for use were made. What's a sundial in the shade? Keep away from people who try to belittle your ambitions. Small people always do that. But the really great make you feel that you, too, can become great. When you're finished changing, you're finished. There are many ways of going forward, only one way of standing still. Right injuries in dust, benefits in marble. Associate with men of good quality if you esteem your own reputation, for it is better to be alone than in bad company. If a man empties his purse into his head, no one can take it from him. I would rather obey a fine lion, much stronger than myself, than 200 rats of my own species. Let us live so that when we come to die, even the undertaker will be sorry. One of the greatest discoveries a man makes, one of his great surprises, is to find he can do what he was afraid he couldn't do. Actions are the seeds of fate. Deeds grow into destiny. One ought never to turn one's back on a threatened danger and try to run away from it. If you do, then double the danger. But if you meet it promptly and without flinching, you will reduce the danger by half. Never throughout history has a man who lived a life of ease left a name worth remembering. Big jobs usually go to the men who prove their ability to outgrow small ones. The greatest lesson in life is to know that even fools are right sometimes. Remember not only to say the right thing in the right place, but far more difficult still, to leave unsaid the wrong thing at the tempting moment. He that is good at making excuses is seldom good at anything else. Circumstances make man, not man circumstances. What we have done for ourselves alone dies with us. What we have done for others in the world remains and is immortal. Better a broken promise than none at all. The most important single ingredient in the formula of success is knowing how to get along with people. Grief can take care of itself, but to get the full value of the joy, you must have somebody to divide it with. It is a wise child that knows its own fault, and an unusual one that unreservedly approves of him. If you think you can do a thing or think you can't do a thing, you're right. There is no sadder sight than a young pessimist. Courage is what it takes to stand up and speak. Courage is also what it takes to sit down and listen. The man who was a pessimist before 48 knows too much. If he is an optimist after it, he knows too little. Whatever a man's age, he can reduce it by several years by putting a bright colored flower in his buttonhole. Life's tragedy is that we get old too soon and wise too late. When in doubt, tell the truth. There are 869 different forms of lying, but only one of them has been squarely forbidden. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Enemies. Good. That means you stood up for something, sometime in your life. It is the little conveniences that make the real comfort of life. To be busy is man's only happiness. Failure is simply the opportunity to begin again, this time more intelligently. Only two things we'll regret on deathbed: that we are a little loved, a little traveled. I'm an old man. I have known a great many troubles, but most of them never happened. Don't think money does everything, or you are going to end up doing everything for money. Never argue with a fool. Onlookers may not be able to tell the difference. When you're good to others, you're best to yourself. What more valuable than gold? Diamonds. Than diamonds? Virtue. Courage is resistance to fear. Mastery of fear, not absence of fear. Search others for their virtues, thyself for thy vices. It is better to take many injuries than to give one. In this world, nothing could be said to be certain, except death and taxes. There are three things extremely hard: steal, a diamond, and to know oneself. Labor to keep alive in your breast that little spark of celestial fire, called conscience. It is the working man who is the happy man. It is the idle man who is the miserable man. We lavish gifts upon children, the most precious gift, our personal association, which means so much to them, we give grudgingly. They who can give up essential liberty to obtain a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. He that can have patience can have what he will. Money has never made man happy, nor will it. There is nothing in its nature to produce happiness. The more that one has, the more one wants. Don't hit it at all if it is honorably possible to avoid hitting, but never hit soft. Some people die at 25 and are buried until 75. At 20 years of age, the will reigns. At 30, the wit. And at 40, the judgment. There is no man living that can do more than he thinks he can. It is easier to prevent bad habits than to break them. A false friend and the shadow attend only while the sun shines. I saw a few die of hunger, feeding 100,000. He that speaks much is much mistaken. Of all the liars in the world, sometimes the worst are our own fears. The most important decision you make is to be in a good mood. The art of medicine consists of amusing the patient while nature cures the disease. The only real mistake is the one from which we learn nothing. The whole secret of a successful life is to find out what is one's destiny to do, and then do it. If passion drives you, let reason hold the reins. Continuous effort, not strength or intelligence, is the key to unlocking our potential. We make a living by what we get. We make a life by what we give. In any moment of decision, the best thing you can do is the right thing. The next best thing is the wrong thing. And the worst thing you can do is nothing. Do what you can with what you have, where you are. Friend and the shadow, forward action is the key. The three things never come back: time, word, and opportunity. Therefore, do not waste time. Choose words, and do not miss the opportunity. If they spit at you behind your back, it means you're ahead of them. We have two lives, and the second begins when we realize we only have one. The disease of men is that they neglect their own fields and go to weed the fields of others. Before you embark on a journey of revenge, dig 2 graves. There are 1,000 lessons in defeat, but only one in victory. If you are depressed, you are living in the past. If you are anxious, you are living in the future. If you are at peace, you are living in the present. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. We take greater pains to persuade others that we are happy and endeavoring to think so ourselves. A healthy man wants 1,000 things. A sick man only wants one. Work on clearing your thoughts. If you do not have bad thoughts, there will be no bad deeds. The man who says he can and the man who says he cannot are both correct. Learn as if you constantly feel you lack your knowledge, and as if you are constantly afraid of losing your knowledge. Don't criticize your neighbor's roof for a lot of snow when your door is unclean. If you hate, then you have been defeated. It is more shameful to distrust our friends than to be deceived by them. Appear weak when you are strong, strong when you are weak. He who flatters a man is his enemy. He who tells him of his faults is his maker. To see what is right and not do it is the worst cowardice. What the caterpillar calls the end, the rest of the world calls a butterfly. The person attempting to travel 2 roads at once get nowhere. He who is satisfied with his lot is rich. The noble person uses things. The lesser man is used by things. A leader leads by example, not by force. Even the finest sword plunged into salt water will eventually rust. Man's nature is evil. Goodness is the result of conscious act. In the midst of chaos, there is also opportunity. To lead people, follow them. When anger rises, think of the consequences. To know your enemy, you must become your enemy. If you are the smartest person in the room, then you are in the wrong room. Opportunities multiply as they are seized. Get rid of the desire to have. The funniest people are the saddest ones. When I let go of what I am, I become what I might be. The man who moves a mountain begins by carrying away small stones. Who wishes to fight must first count the cost. Soft and weak wins over hard and strong. Be extremely subtle, even to the point of formlessness. Be extremely mysterious, even to the point of soundlessness. Thereby, you can be the director of the opponent's fate. True words are not pleasant. Pleasant words are not true. What the ancients called a clever fighter is one who not only wins, but excels in winning with ease. Live for the praise of others, and you will become their prisoner. People in ancient times did not like to talk much. They considered it a shame for themselves not to keep up with their own words. You have to believe in yourself. There is nothing softer and more flexible than water, but try to resist it. He who knows all the answers has not been asked all the questions. If the mind is willing, the flesh could go on and on without anything. Watch your thoughts, they become your words. Watch your words, they become your actions. Watch your actions, they become your habits. Watch your habits, they become your character. Watch your character, it becomes your destiny. Great results can be achieved with small forces. The wise man avoids all extremes. Great is the man who has not lost his childlike heart. We accept advice in drops, but we distribute it in buckets. Ponder and deliberate before you make a move. When people know a lot, it is difficult to manage them. If what one has to say is not better than silence, then one should keep silent. Ultimate excellence lies not in winning every battle, but in defeating the enemy without ever fighting. Nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished. What you do not want done to yourself, do not do to others. Wheels of justice grind slow, but grind fine. Man dies from birth. Study the past if you would define the future. It is easy to love your friend, but sometimes the hardest lesson to learn is to love your enemy. Knowledge is the treasure, and practice is the key to it. You can overcome bad habits only today, not tomorrow. Who knows doesn't say. Who speaks doesn't know. You can't trust a man who has nothing to lose. Choose a job you love, and you will never have to work a day in your life. Plan for what is difficult while it is easy. Do what is great while it is small. Whoever talks a lot often fails. Life is really simple, but we insist on making it complicated. If he sends reinforcements everywhere, he will be weak everywhere. Life is a series of natural and spontaneous changes. Don't resist them. That only creates sorrow. Let reality be reality. Let things flow naturally forward in whatever way they like. Think of tomorrow. The past can't be mended. An enemy is a friend who knows too much about you. Victory over others gives strength. Victory over oneself gives fearlessness. Give a bowl of rice to a man, and you will feed him for a day. Teach him to grow his own rice, and you will save his life. Disorder came from order. Fear came from courage. Weakness came from strength. Do not seek, otherwise you will lose. Do not seek, and you will find. It does not matter how slowly you go, as long as you do not stop. The skillful artist will not alter his measures for the sake of a stupid woman. Beware of sugar that is mixed with poison. Beware of the fly that sat on a dead snake. A man dies easily because he has too much will to live. Who does not know the evils of war cannot appreciate its benefits. Time is a created thing. To say I don't have time is like saying I don't want to. A noble person blames himself, and an insignificant person blames others. Therefore, just as water retains no constant shape, so in warfare there are no constant conditions. Fill your bowl to the brim, and it will spill. Keep sharpening your knife, and it will be blunt. Friends are the siblings God never gives. It is better to light one small candle than to curse the darkness. Every animal with blood in its veins and horns on its head will fight when it is attacked. The one who knows and pretends not to know is on top. Who, without knowledge, pretends to be knowledgeable is sick. Tell me, and I will forget. Show me, and I may remember. Involve me, and I will understand. Care about what other people think, and you will always be their prisoner. Getting something done, like digging a well. You can dig a well 70 feet, but if you don't take water, it's just an abandoned well. right or wrong is the beginning of wisdom. There is no crime greater than having too many desires. There is no disaster greater than not being content. There is no misfortune greater than being covetous. Attack the evil that is within yourself, rather than attacking the evil that is in others. Be attentive to your thoughts. They are the beginning of actions. To complain about an unpleasant thing is to double the evil. To laugh at it is to destroy it. You can always rise above those who offend you by forgiving them. By three methods, we may learn wisdom. First, by reflection, which is noblest. Second, by imitation, which is easiest. And third, by experience, which is the bitterest. The truth is not always beautiful, nor are beautiful words the truth. People are distressed by their inability to do it. The problem, however, is simply that they don't do it. You are controlled by the one who makes you angry. Be content with what you have. Rejoice in the way things are. When you realize there is nothing lacking, the whole world belongs to you. Roads were made for journeys, not destinations. Never say never, because the days go by so fast, nothing stays the same. Your life is what your thoughts make it. We gain by losing, lose by gaining. No matter how busy you may think you are, you must find time for reading or surrender yourself to self-chosen ignorance. When I free myself from who I am, I become who I can be. Happiness is when you are understood. Great happiness is when you are loved. Real happiness is when you love. Temperance is the first step of virtue, which is the beginning of moral perfection. Sometimes we see a lot, but do not notice the main thing. The snow goose needs not bathe to make itself white. Neither need you do anything but be yourself. The wise man is one who knows what he does not know. Respect yourself, and others will respect you. If you lack faith, then existence does not believe in you. What is evil to one at one time becomes good at another time to somebody else. I have just three things to teach: simplicity, patience, compassion. These three are your greatest treasures. Being deeply loved by someone gives you strength, while loving someone deeply gives you courage. The way is near, but men seek it afar. It is in easy things, but men seek for it in difficult things. New beginnings are disguised as painful endings. Forget injuries. Never forget kindness. So the unwilling soul sees what's hidden, and the ever-wanting soul sees only what it wants. There is beauty in everything. Not everyone can see it. The way of truth is like a great road. It is not difficult to know it. The evil is only that men will not seek it. A man must not be without shame, for the shame of being without shame, shamelessness indeed. Be bent, and you will stay straight. Be empty, and you will remain complete. Be worn out, and you will stay new. The man who chases two rabbits catches neither. Health is the greatest possession. Contentment is the greatest treasure. is difficult to love. This is how the whole scheme of things works. All good things are difficult to achieve, and bad things are very easy to get. The whole being knows without learning, sees without looking, and attains without doing. Learning without thought is labor lost. Thought without learning is perilous. Try your best to be to others as you would wish to be treated yourself, and you will find that this is the shortest way to benevolence. Success is as dangerous as failure. Hope is as hollow as fear. People of higher morality do not consider themselves moral. Therefore, they have the highest morality. If you make a mistake and do not correct it, this is called a mistake. A sage who wants to be above people puts himself below them. Wanting to be ahead of them, he becomes behind. The one who offends you takes away your negative energy and gives you his positive energy. What is a good man but a bad man's teacher? What is a bad man but a good man's job? Learn as if you were not reaching your goal, and as though you were scared of missing it. If you are alone for a long time, soon you will accept loneliness. You will never know your potential if you are afraid to be alone. You cannot open a book without learning something. A long absence of sex turns a person into a neurotic. By remaining true to yourself without seeking to compare and compete, you will achieve universal respect. If someone wants to offend you greatly, then it is even worse for him. A man with outward courage dares to die. A man with inner courage dares to live. Our greatest glory is not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall. A great man clings to the essential and leaves the insignificant. He does everything in truth, but he will never rely on laws. Worry not that no one knows you. Seek to be worth knowing. If you aren't afraid of dying, there is nothing you can't achieve. The superior man is modest in his speech, but exceeds in his actions. Whoever, undertaking a business, hurries too quickly to achieve a result will do nothing. He who carefully finishes his work, as he began, will not fail. The man who asks a question is a fool for a minute. The man who does not ask is a fool for life. The more you don't have sex, the less you want it. Truth uttered before its time is always dangerous. When true virtue is lost, good nature appears. When good nature is lost, justice appears. When justice is lost, decency appears. The rules of decency are only the semblance of truth and the beginning of all disorder. If there is no dull and determined effort, there will be no brilliant achievement. To recognize your insignificance is empowering. Friendship is one mind in two bodies. He who knows the measure is satisfied with his position. Pride and excess bring disaster for man. Sometimes you must yield in order to win, and sometimes maintaining a low place leads you to win.
What Hermetists know as the law of paradox is an aspect of the principle of polarity. The Hermetic writings are filled with references to the appearance of the paradox in the consideration of the problems of life and being. The teachers are constantly warning their students against the error of omitting the other side of any question. And their warnings are particularly directed to the problems of the absolute and the relative, which perplex all students of philosophy and which cause so many to think and act contrary to what is generally known as common sense. And we caution all students to be sure to grasp the divine paradox of the absolute and relative, lest they become entangled in the mire of the half-truth. With this in view, this particular lesson has been written. Read it carefully. The first thought that comes to the thinking man after he realizes the truth that the universe is a mental creation of the all is that the universe and all that it contains is a mere illusion, an unreality, against which idea his instincts revolt. But this, like all other great truths, must be considered both from the absolute and the relative points of view. From the absolute viewpoint, of course, the universe is in the nature of an illusion, a dream, a phantasmagoria, as compared to the all in itself. We recognize this even in our ordinary view, for we speak of the world as a fleeting show that comes and goes, is born and dies, for the element of impermanence and change, finiteness and unsubstantiality must ever be connected with the idea of a created universe, when it is contrasted with the idea of the all, no matter what may be our beliefs concerning the nature of both. Philosopher, metaphysician, scientist, and theologian all agree upon this idea, and the thought is found in all forms of philosophical thought and religious conceptions, as well as in the theories of the respective schools of metaphysics and theology. So, the Hermetic teachings do not preach the unsubstantiality of the universe in any stronger terms than those more familiar to you, although their presentation of the subject may seem somewhat more startling. Anything that has a beginning and an ending must be, in a sense, unreal and untrue, and the universe comes under the rule in all schools of thought. From the absolute point of view, there is nothing real except the all, no matter what terms we may use in thinking of or discussing the subject. Whether the universe be created of matter, or whether it be a mental creation in the mind of the all, it is unsubstantial, non-enduring, a thing of time, space, and change. We want you to realize this fact thoroughly before you pass judgment on the Hermetic conception of the mental nature of the universe. Think over any and all of the other conceptions and see whether this be not true of them. But the absolute point of view shows merely one side of the picture. The other side is the relative one. Absolute truth has been defined as things as the mind of God knows them, while relative truth is things as the highest reason of man understands them. And so, while to the all, the universe must be unreal and illusionary, a mere dream or result of meditation, nevertheless, to the finite minds forming a part of that universe and viewing it through mortal faculties, the universe is very real indeed, and must be so considered. In recognizing the absolute view, we must not make the mistake of ignoring or denying the facts and phenomena of the universe as they present themselves to our mortal faculties. We are not the all, remember. To take familiar illustrations, we all recognize the fact that matter exists to our senses. We will fare badly if we do not. And yet, even our finite minds understand the scientific dictum that there is no such thing as matter from a scientific point of view. That which we call matter is held to be merely an aggregation of atoms, which atoms themselves are merely a grouping of units of force, called electrons or ions, vibrating and in constant circular motion. We kick a stone and we feel the impact. It seems to be real, notwithstanding that we know it to be
merely what we have stated above. But remember that our foot, which feels the impact by means of our brains, is likewise matter, so constituted of electrons, and for that matter, so are our brains. And at the best, if it were not by reason of our mind, we would not know the foot or stone at all. Then again, the ideal of the artist or sculptor, which he is endeavoring to reproduce in stone or on canvas, seems very real to him. So do the characters in the mind of the author or dramatist, which he seeks to express so that others may recognize them. And if this be true in the case of our finite minds, what must be the degree of reality in the mental images created in the mind of the infinite? Oh, friends, to mortals this universal mentality is very real indeed. It is the only one we can ever know, though we rise from plane to plane, higher and higher in it. To know it otherwise by actual experience, we must be the all itself. It is true, rise in the scale, the nearer to the mind of the Father we reach, the more apparent becomes the illusory nature of finite things, but not until the all finally withdraws us into itself does the vision actually vanish. So we need not dwell upon the feature of illusion. Rather, let us, recognizing the real nature of the universe, seek to understand its mental laws and endeavor to use them to the best effect in our upward progress through life as we travel from plane to plane of being. The laws of the universe are nonetheless iron laws because of the mental nature. All, except the all, are bound by them. What's in the infinite mind of the all is real in a degree second only to that reality itself, which is vested in the nature of the all. So do not feel insecure or afraid. We are all held firmly in the infinite mind of the all, and there is naught to hurt us or for us to fear. There is no power outside of the all to affect us. So we may rest calm and secure. There is a world of comfort and security in this realization when once attained. Then, calm and peaceful do we sleep, rocked in the cradle of the deep, resting safely on the bosom of the ocean of infinite mind, which is the all. In the all, indeed, do we live and move and have our being. Matter is nonetheless matter to us, while we dwell on the plane of matter, although we know it to be merely an aggregation of electrons or particles of force, vibrating rapidly and gyrating around each other in the formations of atoms. The atoms in turn vibrating and gyrating, forming molecules, which latter in turn form larger masses of matter. Nor does matter become less matter when we follow the inquiry still further and learn from the Hermetic teachings that the force, of which the electrons are but units, is merely a manifestation of the mind of the all, and like all else in the universe, is purely mental in its nature. While on the plane of matter, we must recognize its phenomena. We may control matter, as all masters of higher or lesser degree do, but we do so by applying the higher forces. We commit a folly when we attempt to deny the existence of matter in the relative aspect. We may deny its mastery over us, and rightly so, but we should not attempt to ignore it in its relative aspect, at least so long as we dwell upon its plane. Nor do the laws of nature become less constant or effective when we know them, likewise, to be merely mental creations. They are in full effect on the various planes. We overcome the lower laws by applying still higher ones, and in this way only. But we cannot escape law or rise above it entirely. Nothing but the all can escape law, and that because the all is law itself, from which all laws emerge. The most advanced masters may acquire the powers usually attributed to the gods of men, and there are countless ranks of being in the great hierarchy of life, whose being and power transcends even that of the highest masters among men to a degree unthinkable by mortals. But even the highest master and the highest being must bow to the law and be as nothing in the eye of the all. So that if even these highest beings, whose powers exceed even those attributed by men to their gods, if even these are bound by and are subservient to law, then imagine the presumption of mortal man, of our race and grade, when he dares to consider the laws of nature as unreal, visionary, and illusory, because he happens to be able to grasp the truth that the laws are mental in nature and simply mental creations of the all. Those laws which the all intends to be governing laws are not to be defied or argued away. So long as the universe endures, will they endure? For the universe exists by virtue of these laws which form its framework and which hold it together. The Hermetic principle of mentalism, while explaining the true nature of the universe upon the principle that all is mental, does not change the scientific conceptions of the universe, life, or evolution. In fact, science merely corroborates the Hermetic teachings. The latter merely teaches that the nature of the universe is mental, while modern science has taught that it is material, or of late, that it is energy at the last analysis. The Hermetic teachings have no fault to find with Herbert Spencer's basic principle, which postulates the existence of an infinite and eternal energy from which all things proceed. In fact, the Hermetics recognize in Spencer's philosophy the highest outside statement of the workings of the natural laws that have ever been promulgated. And they believe Spencer to have been a reincarnation of an ancient philosopher who dwelt in ancient Egypt thousands of years ago, and who later incarnated as Heraclitus, the Grecian philosopher who lived BC 500. And they regard his statement of the infinite and eternal energy as directly in the line of the Hermetic teachings, always with the addition of their own doctrine that his energy is the energy of the mind of the all. With the master key of the Hermetic philosophy, the student of Spencer will be able to unlock many doors of the inner philosophical conceptions of the great English philosopher, whose work shows the results of the preparation of his previous incarnations. His teachings regarding evolution and rhythm are in almost perfect agreement with the Hermetic teachings regarding the principle of rhythm. So the student of Hermetics need not lay aside any of his cherished scientific views regarding the universe. All he is asked to do is to grasp the underlying principle of the all is mind, the universe is mental, held in the mind of the all. He will find that the other 6 of the 7 principles will fit into his scientific knowledge and will serve to bring out obscure points and to throw light in dark corners. This is not to be wondered at when we realize the influence of the Hermetic thought on the early philosophers of Greece, upon whose foundations of thought the theories of modern science largely rest. The acceptance of the first Hermetic principle, mentalism, is the only great point of difference between modern science and Hermetic students, and science is gradually moving toward the Hermetic position in its groping in the dark for a way out of the labyrinth into which it has wandered in its search for reality. The purpose of this lesson is to impress upon the minds of our students the fact that, to all intents and purposes, the universe and its laws and its phenomena are just as real, so far as man is concerned, as they would be under the hypotheses of materialism or energism. Under any hypothesis, the universe in its outer aspect is changing, ever flowing, and transitory, and therefore devoid of substantiality and reality. But, note the other pole of the truth. Under any of the same hypotheses, we are compelled to act and live as if the fleeting things were real and substantial. With this difference, always, between the various hypotheses, that under the old views, mental power was ignored as a natural force, while under mentalism, it becomes the greatest natural force. And this one difference revolutionizes life, to those who understand the principle and its resulting laws and practice. So, finally, students all grasp the advantage of mentalism and learn to know, use, and apply the laws resulting therefrom. But do not yield to the temptation which, as the Kabbalion states, overcomes the half-wise, and which causes them to be hypnotized by the apparent unreality of things. The consequence being that they wander about like dream people, dwelling in a world of dreams, ignoring the practical work and life of man, the end being that they are broken against the rocks and torn asunder by the elements by reason of their folly. Rather, follow the example of the wise, which the same authority states, use law against laws, higher against the lower, and by the art of alchemy transmute that which is undesirable into that which is worthy, and thus triumph. Following the authority, let us avoid the half-wisdom, which is folly, which ignores the truth that mastery consists not in abnormal dreams, visions, and fantastic imaginings or living, but in using the higher forces against the lower, escaping the pains of the lower planes by vibrating on the higher. Remember always, student, that transmutation, not presumptuous denial, is the weapon of the master. The above quotations are from the Kabbalion and are worthy of being committed to memory by the student. We do not live in a world of dreams, but in a universe which, while relative, is real so far as our lives and actions are concerned. Our business in the universe is not to deny its existence, but to live, using the laws to rise from lower to higher, living on, doing the best that we can under the circumstances arising each day, and living so far as is possible to our highest ideas and ideals. The true meaning of life is not known to men on this plane, if indeed to any, but the highest authorities and our own intuitions teach us that we will make no mistake in living up to the best that is in us, so far as is possible, and realizing the universal tendency in the same direction in spite of apparent evidences to the contrary. We are all on the path, and the road leads upward ever, with frequent resting places. Read the message of the Kabbalion and follow the example of the wise, avoiding the mistake of the half-wise, who perish by reason of their folly. Chapter 7. The All in All. While all is in the all, it is equally true that the all is in all. To him who truly understands this truth hath come great knowledge. The Kabbalion. How often have the majority of people heard repeated the statement that their deity, called by many names, was all in all, and how little have they suspected the inner occult truth concealed by these carelessly uttered words. The commonly used expression is a survival of the ancient Hermetic maxim quoted above. As the Kabbalion says, to him who truly understands this truth hath come great knowledge. And this being so, let us seek this truth, the understanding of which means so much. In this statement of truth, this Hermetic maxim, is concealed one of the greatest philosophical, scientific, and religious truths. We have given you the Hermetic teaching regarding the mental nature of the universe, the truth that the universe is mental, held in the mind of the all. As the Kabbalion says in the passage quoted above, all is in the all. But note also the correlated statement that it is equally true that the all is in all. This apparently contradictory statement is reconcilable under the law of paradox. It is, moreover, an exact Hermetic statement of the relations existing between the all and its mental universe. We have seen how all is in the all. Now, let us examine the other aspect of the subject. The Hermetic teachings are to the effect that the all is immanent in, remaining within, inherent, abiding within, its universe, and in every part, particle, unit, or combination within the universe. This statement is usually illustrated by the teachers by a reference to the principle of correspondence. The teacher instructs the student to form a mental image of something, a person, an idea, something having a mental form, the favorite example being that of the author or dramatist forming an idea of his characters, or a painter or sculptor forming an image of an ideal that he wishes to express by his art. In each case, the student will find that while the image has its existence and being solely within his own mind, yet he, the student, author, dramatist, painter, or sculptor, is, in a sense, immanent in, remaining within, or abiding within the mental image also. In other words, the entire virtue, life, spirit of reality in the mental image is derived from the immanent mind of the thinker. Consider this for a moment, until the idea is grasped. To take a modern example, let us say that Othello, Iago, Hamlet, Lear, Richard III existed merely in the mind of Shakespeare at the time of their conception or creation. And yet, Shakespeare also existed within each of these characters, giving them their vitality, spirit, and action. Whose is the spirit of the characters that we know as Micawber, Oliver Twist, Uriah Heep? Is it Dickens? Or have each of these characters a personal spirit, independent of their creator? Have the Venus of Medici, the Sistine Madonna, the Apollo Belvedere spirits and reality of their own? Or do they represent the spiritual and mental power of their creators? The law of paradox explains that both propositions are true, viewed from the proper viewpoints. Micawber is both Micawber and yet Dickens. And again, while Micawber may be said to be Dickens, yet Dickens is not identical with Micawber. Man, like Micawber, may exclaim, "The spirit of my creator is inherent within me, and yet I am not he." How different this from the shocking half-truth so vociferously announced by certain of the half-wise, who fill the air with their raucous cries of, "I am God." Imagine poor Micawber, or the sneaky Uriah Heep, crying, "I am Dickens." Or some of the lowly clods in one of Shakespeare's plays, grandiloquently announcing that "I am Shakespeare." All is in the earthworm, and yet the earthworm is far from being the all. And still the wonder remains that, though the earthworm exists merely as a lowly thing, created and having its being solely within the mind of the all, yet the all is immanent in the earthworm, and in the particles that go to make up the earthworm. Can there be any greater mystery than this of all in the all, and the all in all? The student will, of course, realize that the illustrations given above are necessarily imperfect and inadequate, for they represent the creation of mental images in finite minds, while the universe is a creation of infinite mind, and the difference between the two poles separates them. And yet it is merely a matter of degree. The same principle is in operation. The principle of correspondence manifests in each. As above, so below. As below, so above. And in the degree that man realizes the existence of the indwelling spirit immanent within his being, so will he rise in the spiritual scale of life. This is what spiritual development means: the recognition, realization, and manifestation of the spirit within us. Try to remember this last definition, that of spiritual development. It contains the truth of true religion. There are many planes of being, many subplanes of life, many degrees of existence in the universe, and all depend upon the advancement of beings in the scale, of which scale the lowest point is the grossest matter, the highest being separated only by the thinnest division from the spirit of the all. And upward and onward along this scale of life, everything is moving. All are on the path whose end is the all. All progress is a returning home. All is upward and onward in spite of all seemingly contradictory appearances. Such is the message of the illumined. The Hermetic teachings concerning the process of the mental creation of the universe are that at the beginning of the creative cycle, the all, in its aspect of being, projects its will toward its aspect of becoming, and the process of creation begins. It is taught that the process consists of the lowering of vibration until a very low degree of vibratory energy is reached, at which point the grossest possible form of matter is manifested. This process is called the stage of involution, in which the all becomes involved or wrapped up in its creation. This process is believed by the Hermetists to have a correspondence to the mental process of an artist, writer, or inventor who becomes so wrapped up in his mental creation as to almost forget his own existence, and who, for the time being, almost lives in his creation. If instead of wrapped, we use the word wrapped, perhaps we will give a better idea of what is meant. This involuntary stage of creation is sometimes called the outpouring of the divine energy, just as the evolutionary state is called the indrawing. The extreme pole of the creative process is considered to be the furthest removed from the all, while the beginning of the evolutionary stage is regarded as the beginning of the return swing of the pendulum of rhythm, a coming home idea being held in all of the Hermetic teachings. The teachings are that during the outpouring, the vibrations become lower and lower until finally the urge ceases and the return swing begins. But there is this difference, that while in the outpouring the creative forces manifest compactly and as a whole, yet from the beginning of the evolutionary or indrawing stage, there is manifested the law of individualization, that is, the tendency to separate into units of force, so that finally that which left the all as unindividualized energy returns to its source as countless highly developed units of life, having risen higher and higher in the scale by means of physical, mental, and spiritual evolution. The ancient Hermetists use the word meditation in describing the process of the mental creation of the universe in the mind of the all, the word contemplation also being frequently employed. But the idea intended seems to be that of the employment of the divine attention. Attention is a word derived from the Latin root, meaning to reach out, to stretch out. And so the act of attention is really a mental reaching out, extension of mental energy, so that the underlying idea is readily understood when we examine into the real meaning of attention. The Hermetic teachings regarding the process of evolution are that the all, having meditated upon the beginning of the creation, having thus established the material foundations of the universe, having thought it into existence, then gradually awakens or rouses from its meditation, and in so doing starts into manifestation the process of evolution on the material, mental, and spiritual planes, successively and in order. Thus the upward movement begins, and all begins to move spiritward. Matter becomes less gross, the units spring into being, the combinations begin to form, life appears and manifests in higher and higher forms, and mind becomes more and more in evidence, the vibrations constantly becoming higher. In short, the entire process of evolution in all of its phases begins and proceeds according to the established laws of the indrawing process. All of this occupies eons upon eons of man's time, each eon containing countless millions of years. But yet the illumined inform us that the entire creation, including involution and evolution, of a universe is but as the twinkle of the eye to the all. At the end of countless cycles of eons of time, the all withdraws its attention, its contemplation and meditation of the universe, for the great work is finished, and all is withdrawn into the all from which it emerged. But mystery of mysteries, the spirit of each soul is not annihilated, but is infinitely expanded. The created and the creator are merged. Such is the report of the illumined. The above illustration of the meditation and subsequent awakening from meditation of the all is, of course, but an attempt of the teachers to describe the infinite process by a finite example. And yet, as below, so above. The difference is merely in degree. And just as the all arouses itself from the meditation upon the universe, so does man in time cease from manifesting upon the material plane and withdraws himself more and more into the indwelling spirit, which is indeed the divine ego. There is one more matter of which we desire to speak in this lesson, and that comes very near to an invasion of the metaphysical field of speculation, although our purpose is merely to show the futility of such speculation. We allude to the question which inevitably comes to the mind of all thinkers who have ventured to seek the truth. The question is, why does the all create universes? The question may be asked in different forms, but the above is the gist of the inquiry. Men have striven hard to answer this question, but still there is no answer worthy of the name. Some have imagined that the all had something to gain by it, but this is absurd. For what could the all gain that it did not already possess? Others have sought the answer in the idea that the all wished something to love, and others that it created from pleasure or amusement, or because it was lonely, or to manifest its power. All puerile explanations and ideas belonging to the childish period of thought. Others have sought to explain the mystery by assuming that the all found itself compelled to create by reason of its own internal nature, its creative instinct. This idea is in advance of the others, but its weak point lies in the idea of the all being compelled by anything, internal or external. If its internal nature or creative instinct compelled it to do anything, then the internal nature or creative instinct would be the absolute instead of the all. And so accordingly, that part of the proposition falls. And yet, the all does create and manifest, and seems to find some kind of satisfaction in so doing. And it is difficult to escape the conclusion that in some infinite degree it must have what would correspond to an inner nature or creative instinct in man, with correspondingly infinite desire and will. It could not act unless it willed to act, and it would not will to act unless it desired to act. It would not desire to act unless it obtained some satisfaction thereby. And all of these things would belong to an inner nature, and might be postulated as existing according to the law of correspondence. Still, we prefer to think of the all as acting entirely free from any influence, internal as well as external. That is the problem which lies at the root of difficulty. The difficulty that lies at the root of the problem. Strictly speaking, there cannot be said to be any reason whatsoever for the all to act, for a reason implies a cause, and the all is above cause and effect, except when it wills to become a cause, at which time the principle is set into motion. So, you see, the matter is unthinkable, just as the all is unknowable. Just as we say the all merely is, so we are compelled to say that the all acts because it acts. At the last, the all is all reason in itself, all law in itself, all action in itself. And it may be said truthfully that the all is its own reason, its own law, its own act, or still further, that the all, its reason, its act, its law, are one, all being names for the same thing. In the opinion of those who are giving you these present lessons, the answer is locked up in inner self of the all, along with its secret of being. The law of correspondence, in our opinion, reaches only to that aspect of the all which may be spoken of as the aspect of becoming. Back of that aspect is the aspect of being, in which all laws are lost in law. All principles merge into principle and the all. Principle and being are identical, one and the same. Therefore, metaphysical speculation on this point is futile. We go into the matter here merely to show that we recognize the question, and also the absurdity of the ordinary answers of metaphysics and theology. In conclusion, it may be of interest to our students to learn that while some of the ancient and modern Hermetic teachers have rather inclined in the direction of applying the principle of correspondence to the question, with the result of the inner nature conclusion, still the legends have it that Hermes the Great, when asked this question by his advanced students, answered them by pressing his lips tightly together and saying not a word, indicating that there was no answer. But then, he may have intended to apply the axiom of his philosophy, that the lips of wisdom are closed except to the ears of understanding, believing that even his advanced students did not possess the understanding which entitled them to the teaching. At any rate, if Hermes possessed the secret, he failed to impart it. So far as the world is concerned, the lips of Hermes are closed regarding it. And where the great Hermes hesitated to speak, what mortal may dare to teach? But remember that whatever be the answer to this problem, if indeed there be an answer, the truth remains that, while all is in the all, it is equally true that the all is in all. The teaching on this point is emphatic, and we may add the concluding words of the quotation: "To him who truly understands this truth hath come great knowledge." Chapter 8: The Planes of Correspondence. As above, so below. As below, so above. The Kybalion. The great second Hermetic principle embodies the truth that there is a harmony, agreement, and correspondence between the several planes of manifestation, life, and being. This truth is a truth because all that is included in the universe emanates from the same source, and the same laws, principles, and characteristics apply to each unit or combination of units of activity, as each manifests its own phenomena upon its own plane. For the purpose of convenience of thought and stock, the Hermetic philosophy considers that the universe may be divided into three great classes of phenomena, known as the three great planes, namely, 1, the great physical plane, 2, the great mental plane, 3, the great spiritual plane. These divisions are more or less artificial and arbitrary, for the truth is that all of the three divisions are but ascending degrees of the great scale of life, the lowest point of which is undifferentiated matter, and the highest point that of spirit. And moreover, the different planes shade into each other, so that no hard and fast division may be made between the higher phenomena of the physical and the lower of the mental, or between the higher of the mental and the lower of the spiritual. In short, the three great planes may be regarded as three great groups of degrees of life manifestation. While the purposes of this little book do not allow us to enter into an extended discussion of, or explanation of, the subject of these different planes, still we think it well to give a general description of the same at this point. At the beginning, we may as well consider the question so often asked by the neophyte, who desires to be informed regarding the meaning of the word plane. which term has been very freely used and very poorly explained in many recent works upon the subject of occultism. The question is generally about as follows. Is a plane a place having dimensions, or is it merely a condition or state? We answer, no, not a place, nor ordinary dimension of space, and yet more than a state or condition. It may be considered as a state or condition, and yet the state or condition is a degree of dimension in a scale subject to measurement. Somewhat paradoxical, is it not? But let us examine the matter. A dimension, is a measure in a straight line, relating to measure, etc. The ordinary dimensions of space are length, breadth, and height, or perhaps length, breadth, height, thickness, or circumference. But there is another dimension of created things, or measure in a straight line, known to occultists and to scientists as well, although the latter have not as yet applied the term dimension to it. And this new dimension, which, by the way, is the much speculated about fourth dimension, is the standard used in determining the degrees or planes. This fourth dimension may be called the dimension of vibration. It is a fact well known to modern science, as well as to the Hermetists who have embodied the truth in their third Hermetic principle, that everything is in motion, everything vibrates, nothing is at rest. From the highest manifestation to the lowest, everything and all things vibrate. Not only do they vibrate at different rates of motion, but as in different directions and in a different manner. The degrees of the rate of vibrations constitute the degrees of measurement on the scale of vibrations. In other words, the degrees of the fourth dimension. And these degrees form what occultists call planes. The higher the degree of rate of vibration, the higher the plane, and the higher the manifestation of life occupying that plane. So that while a plane is not a place, nor yet a state or condition, yet it possesses qualities common to both. We shall have more to say regarding the subject of the scale of vibrations in our next lessons, in which we shall consider the Hermetic principle of vibration. You will kindly remember, however, that the three great planes are not actual divisions of the phenomena of the universe, but merely arbitrary terms used by the Hermetists in order to aid in the thought and study of the various degrees and forms of universal activity and life. The atom of matter, the unit of force, the mind of man, and the being of the archangel are all but degrees in one scale, and all fundamentally the same. The difference between solely a matter of degree and rate of vibration. All are creations of the All, and have their existence solely within the infinite mind of the All. The Hermetists subdivide each of the three great planes into 7 minor planes, and each of these latter are also subdivided into 7 subplanes, all divisions being more or less arbitrary, shading into each other, and adopted merely for convenience of scientific study and thought. The great physical plane and its 7 minor planes is that division of the phenomena of the universe which includes all that relates to physics or material things, forces, and manifestations. It includes all forms of that which we call matter, and all forms of that which we call energy or force. But you must remember that the Hermetic philosophy does not recognize matter as a thing in itself, or as having a separate existence even in the mind of the All. The teachings are that matter is but a form of energy, that is, energy at a low rate of vibrations of a certain kind. And accordingly, the Hermetists classify matter under the head of energy, and give to it 3 of the 7 minor planes of the great physical plane. These 7 minor physical planes are as follows. 1. The plane of matter, A. 2. The plane of matter, B. 3. The plane of matter, C. 4. The plane of ethereal substance. 5. The plane of energy A. 6. The plane of energy B. 7. The plane of energy C. The plane of matter A comprises the forms of matter in its form of solids, liquids, and gases, as generally recognized by the textbooks on physics. The plane of matter B comprises certain higher and more subtle forms of matter, of the existence of which modern science is but now recognizing. The phenomena of radiant matter, in its phases of radium, etc., belonging to the lower subdivision of this minor plane. The plane of matter C comprises forms of the most subtle and tenuous matter, the existence of which is not suspected by ordinary scientists. The plane of ethereal substance comprises that which science speaks of as the ether, a substance of extreme tenuity and elasticity, pervading all universal space and acting as a medium for the transmission of waves of energy, such as light, heat, electricity, etc. This ethereal substance forms a connecting link between matter, so called, and energy, and partakes of the nature of each. The Hermetic teachings, however, instruct this plane has 7 subdivisions, as have all of the minor planes, and that, in fact, there are 7 ethers instead of but 1. Next above the plane of ethereal substance comes the plane of energy A, which comprises the ordinary forms of energy known to science, its 7 subplanes being, respectively, heat, light, magnetism, electricity, and attraction, including gravitation, cohesion, chemical affinity, etc., and several other forms of energy indicated by scientific experiments, but not as yet named or classified. The plane of energy B comprises 7 subplanes of higher forms of energy, not as yet discovered by science, but which have been called nature's finer forces, and which are called into operation in manifestations of certain forms of mental phenomena, and by which such phenomena becomes possible. The plane of energy C comprises 7 subplanes of energy so highly organized that it bears many of the characteristics of life, but which is not recognized by the minds of men on the ordinary plane of development, being available for the use of beings of the spiritual plane alone. Such energy is unthinkable to ordinary man, and may be considered almost as the divine power. The beings employing the same are as gods compared even to the highest human types known to us. The great mental plane comprises those forms of living things known to us in ordinary life, as well as certain other forms not so well known except to the occultist. The classification of the 7 minor mental planes is more or less satisfactory and arbitrary, unless accompanied by elaborate explanations which are foreign to the purpose of this particular work. But we may as well mention them. They are as follows. 1. The plane of mineral mind. 2. The plane of elemental mind, A. 3. The plane of plant mind. 4. The plane of elemental mind, B. 5. The plane of animal mind. 6. The plane of elemental mind, C. 7. The plane of human mind. The plane of mineral mind comprises the states or conditions of the units or entities or groups and combinations of the same, which animate the forms known to us as minerals, chemicals, etc. These entities must not be confounded with the molecules, atoms, and corpuscles themselves, the latter being merely the material bodies or forms of these entities, just as a man's body is but his material form, and not himself. These entities may be called souls in one sense, and are living beings of a low degree of development, life, and mind, just a little more than the units of living energy which comprise the higher subdivisions of the highest physical plane. The average mind does not generally attribute the possession of mind, soul, or life to the mineral kingdom, but all occultists recognize the existence of the same, and modern science is rapidly moving forward to the point of view of the Hermetic in this respect. The molecules, atoms, and corpuscles have their loves and hates, likes and dislikes, attractions and repulsions, affinities and non-affinities, etc. And some of the more daring of modern scientific minds have expressed the opinion that the desire and will, emotions and feelings of the atoms differ only in degree from those of men. We have no time or space to argue this matter here. All occultists know it to be a fact, and others are referred to some of the more recent scientific works for outside corroboration. There are the usual 7 subdivisions to this plane. The plane of elemental mind A comprises the state or condition and degree of mental and vital development of a class of entities unknown to the average man, but recognized to occultists. They are invisible to the ordinary senses of man, but nevertheless exist and play their part of the drama of the universe. Their degree of intelligence is between that of the mineral and chemical entities on the one hand, and of the entities of the plant kingdom on the other. There are 7 subdivisions to this plane also. The plane of plant mind, in its 7 subdivisions, comprises the states or conditions of the entities comprising the kingdoms of the plant world, the vital and mental phenomena of which is fairly well understood by the average intelligent person. Many new and interesting scientific works regarding mind and life of plants having been published during the last decade. Plants have life, mind, and souls, as well as have the animals, man, and Superman. The plane of elemental mind B, in its 7 subdivisions, comprises the states and conditions of a higher form of elemental or unseen entities, playing their part in the general work of the universe, the mind and life of which form a part of the scale between the plane of plant mind and the plane of animal mind, the entities partaking of the nature of both. The plane of animal mind, in its 7 subdivisions, comprises the states and conditions of the entities, beings, or souls animating the animal forms of life, familiar to us all. It is not necessary to go into details regarding this kingdom or plane of life, for the animal world is as familiar to us as is our own. The plane of elemental mind, C, in its 7 subdivisions, comprises those entities or beings, invisible as are all such elemental forms, which partake of the nature of both animal and human life in a degree and in certain combinations. The highest forms are semi-human in intelligence. The plane of human mind, in its 7 subdivisions, comprises those manifestations of life and mentality which are common to man in his various grades, degrees, and divisions. In this connection, we wish to point out the fact that the average man of today occupies but the 4th subdivision of the plane of human mind, and only the most intelligent have crossed the borders of the 5th subdivision. It has taken the race millions of years to reach this stage, and it will take many more years for the race to move on to the 6th and 7th subdivisions and beyond. But remember that there have been races before us which have passed through these degrees and then on to higher planes. Our own race is the 5th, with stragglers from the 4th, which has set foot upon the path. And then there are a few advanced souls of our own race who have outstripped the masses and who have passed on to the 6th and 7th subdivision, and some few being still further on. The man of the 6th subdivision will be the Superman. He of the 7th will be the Overman. In our consideration of the 7 minor mental planes, we have merely referred to the 3 elementary planes in a general way. We do not wish to go into this subject in detail in this work, for it does not belong to this part of the general philosophy and teachings. But we may say this much in order to give you a little clearer idea of the relations of these planes to the more familiar ones. The elementary planes bear the same relation to the planes of mineral, plant, animal, and human mentality and life that the black keys on the piano do to the white keys. The white keys are sufficient to produce music, but there are certain scales, melodies, and harmonies in which the black keys play their part, and in which their presence is necessary. They are also necessary as connecting links of soul condition, entity states, etc., between the several other planes, certain forms of development being attained therein, this last fact giving to the reader who can read between the lines a new light upon the processes of evolution, and a new key to the secret door of the leaps of life between kingdom and kingdom. The great kingdoms of elementals are fully recognized by all occultists, and the esoteric writings are full of mention of them. The readers of Bulwer's Zanoni and similar tales will recognize the entities inhabiting these planes of life. Passing on from the great mental plane to the great spiritual plane, what shall we say? How can we explain these higher states of being, life, and mind to minds as yet unable to grasp and understand the higher subdivisions of the plane of human mind? The task is impossible. We can speak only in the most general terms. How may light be described to a man born blind? How sugar to a man who has never tasted anything sweet? How harmony to one born deaf? All that we can say is that the 7 minor planes of the great spiritual plane, each minor plane having its 7 subdivisions, comprise beings possessing life, mind, and form as far above that of man of today as the latter is above the earthworm, mineral, or even certain forms of energy or matter. The life of these beings so far transcends ours that we cannot even think of the details of the same. Their minds so far transcend ours that to them we scarcely seem to think, and our mental processes seem almost akin to material processes. The matter of which their forms are composed is of the highest planes of matter, nay, some are even said to be clothed in pure energy. What may be said of such beings? On the 7 minor planes of the great spiritual plane exist beings of whom we may speak as angels, archangels, demigods. On the lower minor planes dwell those great souls whom we call masters and adepts. Above them come the great hierarchies of the angelic hosts, unthinkable to man. And above those come those who may, without irreverence, be called the gods. So high in the scale of being are they, their being, intelligence, and power being akin to those attributed by the races of men to their conceptions of deity. These beings are beyond even the highest flights of the human imagination, the word divine being the only one applicable to them. Many of these beings, as well as the angelic host, take the greatest interest in the affairs of the universe and play an important part in its affairs. These unseen divinities and angelic helpers extend their influence freely and powerfully in the process of evolution and cosmic progress. Their occasional intervention and assistance in human affairs have led to the many legends, beliefs, religions, and traditions of the race, past and present. They have superimposed their knowledge and power upon the world again and again, all under the law of the all, of course. But yet, even the highest of these advanced beings exist merely as creations of and in the mind of the all, and are subject to the cosmic processes and universal laws. They are still mortal. We may call them gods if we like, but still they are but the elder brethren of the race, the advanced souls who have outstripped their brethren, and who have foregone the ecstasy of absorption by the all in order to help the race on its upward journey along the path. But they belong to the universe, and are subject to its conditions. They are mortal, and their plane is below that of absolute spirit. Only the most advanced Hermetists are able to grasp the inner teachings regarding the state of existence and the powers manifested on the spiritual planes. The phenomena is so much higher than that of the mental planes that a confusion of ideas would surely result from an attempt to describe the same. only those whose minds have been carefully trained along the lines of the Hermetic philosophy for years, yes, those who have brought with them from other incarnations the knowledge acquired previously, can comprehend just what is meant by the teaching regarding these spiritual planes. And much of these inner teachings is held by the Hermetists as being too sacred, important, and even dangerous for general public dissemination. The intelligent student may recognize what we mean by this when we state that the meaning of spirit, as used by the Hermetists, is akin to living power, animated force, inner essence, essence of life, etc., which meaning must not be confounded with that usually and commonly employed in connection with the term. In other words, religious, ecclesiastical, spiritual, ethereal, holy, etc., etc. To occultists, the word spirit is used in the sense of the animating principle, carrying with it the idea of power, living energy, mystic force, etc. And occultists know that that which is known to them as spiritual power may be employed for evil as well as good ends, in accordance with the principle of polarity, a fact which has been recognized by the majority of religions in their conceptions of Satan, Beelzebub, the devil, Lucifer, fallen angels, etc. And so the knowledge regarding these planes has been kept in the Holy of Holies in all esoteric fraternities and occult orders, in the secret chamber of the temple. But it is said here that those who have attained high spiritual powers and have misused them have a terrible fate in store for them, and the swing of the pendulum of rhythm will inevitably swing them back to the furthest extreme of material existence, from which point they must retrace their steps spiritward along the weary rounds of the path, but always with the added torture of having always with them a lingering memory of the heights from which they fell, owing to their evil actions. The legends of the fallen angels have a basis in actual facts, as all advanced occultists know. The striving for selfish power on the spiritual planes inevitably results in the selfish soul losing its spiritual balance and falling back as far as it had previously risen. But to even such a soul, the opportunity of a return is given, and such souls make the return journey, paying the terrible penalty according to the invariable law. In conclusion, we would again remind you that according to the principle of correspondence, which embodies the truth, as above, so below, as below, so above, all of the 7 Hermetic principles are in full operation on all of the many planes, physical, mental, and spiritual. The principle of mental substance, of course, applies to all the planes, for all are held in the mind of the all. The principle of correspondence manifests in all, for there is a correspondence, harmony, and agreement between the several planes. The principle of vibration manifests on all planes. In fact, the very differences that go to make the planes arise from vibration, we have explained. The principle of polarity manifests on each plane, the extremes of the poles being apparently opposite and contradictory. The principle of rhythm manifests on each plane, the movement of the phenomena having its ebb and flow, rise and flow, incoming and outgoing. The principle of cause and effect manifests on each plane, every effect and every cause having its effect. The principle of gender manifests on each plane, the creative energy being always manifest and operating along the lines of its masculine and feminine aspects. As above, so below. As below, so above. This centuries-old Hermetic axiom embodies one of the great principles of universal phenomena. As we proceed with our consideration of the remaining principles, we will see even more clearly the truth of the universal nature of this great principle of correspondence. Chapter 9. Vibration. Nothing rests. Everything moves. Everything vibrates. The Kabbalah. The great third Hermetic principle, the principle of vibration embodies the truth that motion is manifest in everything in the universe, that nothing is at rest, that everything moves, vibrates, and circles. This Hermetic principle was recognized by some of the early Greek philosophers who embodied it in their systems. But then, for centuries, it was lost sight of by the thinkers outside of the Hermetic ranks. But in the 19th century, physical science rediscovered the truth, and the 20th century scientific discoveries have added additional proof of the correctness and truth of this centuries-old Hermetic doctrine. The Hermetic teachings are that not only is everything in constant movement and vibration, but that the differences between the various manifestations of the universal power are due entirely to the varying rate and mode of vibrations. Not only this, but that even the all in itself manifests a constant vibration of such an infinite degree of intensity and rapid motion that it may be practically considered as at rest. The teachers directing the attention of the students to the fact that even on the physical plane, a rapidly moving object such as a revolving wheel seems to be at rest. The teachings are to the effect that spirit is at one end of the pole of vibration, the other pole being certain extremely gross forms of matter. Between these two poles are millions upon millions of different rates and modes of vibration. Modern science has proven that all that we call matter and energy are but modes of vibratory motion, and some of the more advanced scientists are rapidly moving toward the positions of the occultists, who hold that the phenomena of mind are likewise modes of vibration or motion. Let us see what science has to say regarding the question of vibrations in matter and energy. In the first place, science teaches that all matter manifests in some degree, the vibrations arising from temperature or heat. Be an object cold or hot, both being but degrees of the same things, it manifests certain heat vibrations, and in that sense is in motion and vibration. Then all particles of matter are in circular movement, from corpuscle to suns. The planets revolve around suns, and many of them turn on their axes. The suns move around greater central points, and these are believed to move around still greater, and so on, ad infinitum. The molecules of which the particular kinds of matter are composed are in a state of constant vibration and movement around each other and against each other. The molecules are composed of atoms, which likewise are in a state of constant movement and vibration. The atoms are composed of corpuscles, sometimes called electrons, ions, etc., which also are in a state of rapid motion, revolving around each other, and which manifest a very rapid state and mode of vibration. And so we see that all forms of matter manifest vibration in accordance with the Hermetic principle of vibration. And so it is with the various forms of energy. Science teaches that light, heat, magnetism, and electricity are but forms of vibratory motion connected in some way with, and probably emanating from, the ether. Science does not as yet attempt to explain the nature of the phenomena known as cohesion, which is the principle of molecular attraction, nor chemical affinity, which is the principle of atomic attraction, nor gravitation, greatest mystery of the three, which is the principle of attraction by which every particle or mass of matter is bound with every other particle or mass. These three forms of energy are not as yet understood by science, yet the writers incline to the opinion that these too are manifestations of some form of vibratory energy, a fact which the Hermetists have held and taught for ages past. The universal ether, which is postulated by science without its nature being understood clearly, is held by the Hermetists to be but a higher manifestation of that which is erroneously called matter. That is to say, matter at a higher degree of vibration, and is called by them the ethereal substance. The Hermetists teach that this ethereal substance is of extreme tenuity and elasticity, and pervades universal space, serving as a medium of transmission of waves of vibratory energy, such as heat, light, electricity, magnetism, etc. The teachings are that the ethereal substance is a connecting link between the forms of vibratory energy known as matter on the one hand, and energy or force on the other, and also that it manifests a degree of vibration in rate and mode entirely its own. Scientists have offered the illustration of a rapidly moving wheel, top, or cylinder to show the effects of increasing rates of vibration. The illustration supposes a wheel, top, or revolving cylinder running at a low rate of speed. We will call this revolving thing the object in following out the illustration. Let us suppose the object moving slowly. It may be seen readily that no sound of its movement reaches the ear. The speed is gradually increased. In a few moments, its movement becomes so rapid that a deep growl or low note may be heard. Then, as the rate is increased, the note rises one in the musical scale. Then, the motion being still further increased, the next highest note is distinguished. Then, one after another, all the notes of the musical scale appear, rising higher and higher as the motion is increased. Finally, when the motions have reached a certain rate, the final note perceptible to human ears is reached, and the shrill, piercing shriek dies away, and silence follows. No sound is heard from the revolving object, the rate of motion being so high that the human ear cannot register the vibrations. Then comes the perception of rising degrees of heat. Then, after quite a time, the eye catches a glimpse of the object becoming a dull, dark reddish color. As the rate increases, the red becomes brighter. Then, as the speed is increased, the red melts into an orange. Then the orange melts into a yellow. Then follow successively the shades of green, blue, indigo, and finally violet as the rate of speed increases. Then the violet shades away and all color disappears, the human eye not being able to register them. But there are invisible rays emanating from the revolving object, the rays that are used in photographing and other subtle rays of light. Then begin to manifest the peculiar rays known as the X-rays, etc., as the constitution of the object changes. Electricity and magnetism are emitted when the appropriate rate of vibration is attained. When the object reaches a certain rate of vibration, its molecules disintegrate and resolve themselves into the original elements or atoms. Then the atoms, following the principle of vibration, are separated into the countless corpuscles of which they are composed. And finally, even the corpuscles disappear, and the object may be said to be composed of the ethereal substance. Science does not dare to follow the illustration further, but the Hermetists teach that if the vibrations be continually increased, the object would mount up the successive states of manifestation and would in turn manifest the various mental stages, and then on spiritward, until it would finally re-enter the all, which is absolute spirit. The object, however, would have ceased to be an object long before the stage of ethereal substance was reached, but otherwise the illustration is correct, inasmuch as it shows the effect of constantly increased rates and modes of vibration. It must be remembered in the above illustration that at the stages at which the object throws off vibrations of light, heat, etc., it is not actually resolved into those forms of energy, which are much higher in the scale, but simply that it reaches a degree of vibration in which those forms of energy are liberated in a degree from the confining influences of its molecules, atoms, and corpuscles, as the case may be. These forms of energy, although much higher in the scale than matter, are imprisoned and confined in the material combinations by reason of the energies manifesting through and using material forms, but thus becoming entangled and confined in their creations of material forms, which to an extent is true of all creations, the creating force becoming involved in its creation. But the Hermetic teachings go much further than do those of modern science. They teach that all manifestations of thought, emotion, reason, will, or desire, or any mental state or condition, are accompanied by vibrations, a portion of which are thrown off and which tend to affect the minds of other persons by induction. This is the principle which produces the phenomena of telepathy, mental influence, and other forms of the action and power of mind over mind, with which the general public is rapidly becoming acquainted, owing to the wide dissemination of occult knowledge by the various schools, cults, and teachers along these lines at this time. Every thought, emotion, or mental state has its corresponding rate and mode of vibration. And by an effort of the will of the person or of other persons, these mental states may be reproduced, just as a musical tone may be reproduced by causing an instrument to vibrate at a certain rate, just as color may be reproduced in the same way. By a knowledge of the principle of vibration as applied to mental phenomena, one may polarize his mind at any degree he wishes, thus gaining a perfect control over his mental states, moods, etc. In the same way, he may affect the minds of others, producing the desired mental states in them. In short, he may be able to produce on the mental plane that which